The best news for the Philippine Coast Guard, which points to the acquisition of 46 additional vessels and 5 additional Teresa Magbanua-class multi-role response vessels, will not suffice the needs of the most powerful Coast Guard in Southeast Asia, especially since neighboring countries like Vietnam have more large Coast Guard cutters in their fleet, such as the Hamilton-class cutters, sister ships of the Philippine Navy's Del Pilar-class OPVs, the Daman OPV 9014 and the TT-1500 ASO class, from Japan, totaling 13 vessels in total. The discussion of the Philippine Coast Guard's goal of becoming the most capable in Southeast Asia, while a welcome development, is somewhat overblown, especially from the perspective that the sheer number of vessels involved could allow the Philippine Coast Guard to be ready to deal with the ongoing tensions in the western Philippine seas. Additional white-hulled vessels have been on the Philippine Coast Guard's wish list for a long time, with additional acquisition plans already underway, with countries like Japan providing more vessels over the next 5 years. As the role of maritime law enforcement agencies becomes more important than ever, so do the prospects of some shipbuilders for what may be a marketing pitch for platforms that the Philippine Coast Guard may consider for its maritime fleet expansion efforts. Since the Philippine Coast Guard primarily consists of 10 units of the 44-meter Parola class MRRVs and 2 97-meter Teresa Magbanua class MRRVs, it may be more ideal for the maritime law enforcement to capitalize on the larger addition of vessels, in addition to acquiring 5 more 97-meter vessels, one of which utilizes the HDP 2200 OPV design that Hyundai Heavy Industries offered to the Philippine Coast Guard as part of its expanded marketing outreach to the country, aside from the construction and delivery of a slightly different HDP 2200 plus OPV design for the Philippine Navy's offshore patrol vessel acquisition project. Securing similar-sized vessels, in addition to the proposed order for additional 44-meter Parola-class MRRVs, will help the Philippine Coast Guard further fulfill its duties, especially in dealing with Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels that harass Philippine fishermen and the country's lawful presence in the West Philippine Sea, within the 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. In this topic, the discussion will delve into the ongoing modernization efforts of the Philippine Coast Guard in terms of its white-hulled vessel requirements, along with the design specifications of the HDP 2200 patrol vessel and how it differs from those provided for the Philippine Navy's requirements. Lastly, the correlation between the modernization of the Philippine Coast Guard and its role in the West Philippine Sea will also be discussed. As seen in last month's exhibition, the design of the vessel offered by Korea references the HDP 2200 offshore patrol vessel from Hyundai Heavy Industries by showcasing the distinctive lines and livery of the Philippine Coast Guard, even complemented by a scale model referenced of what appears to be an AW-159 anti-submarine helicopter in the Maritime Agency's colors. It seems that the ship's presentation could give an indication that the Korean shipbuilder is interested in taking part in the modernization efforts being undertaken by the Philippine Coast Guard. The scale model provided in the Korean exposition is the HDP 2200 offshore patrol vessel, which shares the same design cues as the HDP 2200 plus offshore patrol vessel that the Philippine Navy will eventually acquire, except for some minor design changes, as that type of information will be discussed further in this sub-discussion. Despite the changes, both share the same dimensions in terms of size and tonnage, although the differences demonstrate the effective modularity of the offshore patrol vessel design. As provided in the product brochure by Hyundai Heavy Industries for the offshore patrol vessel design, both the HDP 2200 and HDP 2200 Plus designs share the same attributes in other key capabilities and specifications, with both having a displacement of 2,450 tons, an overall length of 94.4 meters, a beam of 14.3 meters, a draft of 3.7 meters, a speed of 22 knots, a range of 5,500 nautical miles, and a maximum endurance at sea of 30 days. As further provided in Hyundai Heavy Industries' HD brochure for both platforms, the HDP 2200 Plus offshore patrol vessel's weapons and sensor suite comprises additional weaponry features compared to those found aboard the HDP 2200 offshore patrol vessel variant. Weapons such as the Close-in Weapon System or CIWS, 76mm main gun, Combat Management System or CMS, and even unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs, are included with the HDP 2200 plus OPVs and are absent on the HDP 2200 OPVs. The differences highlighted make the HDP 2200 offshore patrol vessel more ideal as a platform intended for the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG, where the Maritime Law Enforcement Agency does not require a naval subcomponent for its operations and instead utilizes lighter weaponry and even water cannons to enforce its mandate on the high seas. Currently, the Philippine Coast Guard sources its vessels from Japanese and French sources, as has been given in the recent developments on the expansion of the White Hull Fleet that the Maritime Law Enforcement Agency is currently undergoing. Recent developments, such as those in the West Philippine Sea, as depicted in the image above involving the deployment of the Philippine Coast Guard's BRP Teresa Magbanua, MRRV 9701, and BRP Cabra, MRRV 4409, in Escoda, Sabina Shoal, provide further justification for the need for additional white hull vessels for the Philippine Coast Guard. For example, China rammed the MRRV 9701 and eventually had to tow it out of the area back to land for repairs. The Philippine Coast Guard is currently seeking at least 46 additional vessels, including at least 5 additional Teresa Magbanua class multi-role response vessels or MRRVs, and is looking to purchase several 61-meter patrol vessels and 40-meter fast patrol vessels to complement the pipeline. This prospect may provide additional opportunities for shipbuilders such as Hyundai Heavy Industries to bid, particularly for its line of offshore patrol vessels.